Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 18th of October 2023. In today's newspaper analysis, we are going to cover a mapping topic and then we are going to cover other topics from the newspaper. So today, in the newspaper, there was an important topic related to, let's say, a verdict of the Supreme Court of India. We are also going to look into that topic. So let us quickly see the list of articles that we are going to discuss. So these are the list of articles that we are going to discuss in today's discussion. So the first topic that we are going to discuss is a mapping topic. Name of the topic is Zealandia. So many of you may have heard about the name Zealandia earlier, or if you not have heard about the name of Zealandia, we are going to cover it just now. Okay. So Zealandia is considered to be a hidden continent, a continent that has not received recognition so far. Okay, so it has been in news many a times. This is considered to be the next continent, means it is considered to be the 8th continent of the world. Okay, it is considered to be the 8th continent of the world. So where is Zealandia located? We need to see that thing. So we know the location of New Zealand, right? We know the location of Australia. Australia is a continent, and let's say nearby Australia we have New Zealand. Okay, so New Zealand is on the top of Zealandia continent. Okay, so it is on the top of Zealandia. So this is, let's say, like this is the map of New Zealand, and the dark shadow region that we see over here, okay, the kind of blue color, shaded region in blue color. So this showcases Zealandia as the 8th continent. Okay, so as of now, there is no international recognition related to Zealandia as a continent. However, right, the thing is, like, many people are saying that this should be included in the name of continents, right? So opinion about geologists, opinion about, let's say, among scientists are little bit divided on this topic. However, we need to understand where is Zealandia located. Okay, so Zealandia considered by geologists to be a massive, mostly submerged continent. Okay, why it is not given a continental thing? Because most part of this continent is submerged, it is underwater. Okay, so there are certain traditional criterias, right, for identifying a continent. The criteria involve that, like, substantial portion of this continent should be above water. Then it has a criteria that, like, it should be having let's say flora, fauna, etc. It should be having population. A lot of traditional criteria are there. This Zealandia continent does not meet all the criteria. One of the criteria is, let's say, like, it is like totally submerged. Most of the part is submerged. So that's why also it is not considered to be a separate continent as of now. However, there are many geologists across the world who demand that this should be included as, let's say, like, a continent. So let us see that, like, what are the criteria, right? It meets all the criteria applied to the Earth's 7 continents according to scientists. Okay, so some scientists say that it meets all the criteria. So what are the criteria? One of the criteria is elevation above surrounding area. So it should be elevated above the surrounding area. Surrounding area means if we consider Zealandia and if we consider the nearby regions. So nearby region is, let's say, ocean or sea. So it is in the Pacific Ocean, as we can see. So ocean has, let's say, like the lower portion or seabed, which is much below the Zealandia continent. So it is little raised, right? It is above the surrounding area. This is one criteria of identifying a continent. Then the second criteria is it should be having a distinctive geology. It does have a distinctive geology as compared to, let's say, like, ocean bed. That's the thing. Third criteria is it should have a well-defined area. It does have a well-defined area. Then crust much thicker than that found on the ocean floor. Okay, so crust, Earth's crust. So it should be much thicker than the ocean floor. It also meets that particular thing. However, the thing is, like, it has not been yet officially recognized, okay, by the people, because substantial portion of it is not above the sea level. Although it is not an official criteria. Official criteria means the elevation of this particular continent should be well above the let's say surrounding area. It is well above, but like it is not above the sea level. That's the thing. Okay, so that's why I mean, like, you know, there is a demand also among the people to recognize this thing as a continent. Okay, so you can go through the remaining portion over here by reading this thing. And also let us see where is Zealandia located as compared to other continents. Okay, so this is Australia, which is a continent. Just to the right of Australia we have this Zealandia continent, and this is where New Zealand is located. Today in the newspaper there was an article that talked about New Zealand. Okay, so that's why I thought of finding New Zealand, but like, you know, I just got to know, like, you know, I remembered that Zealandia was also in news. It has been in news for, let's say, long time. In 2016 also it was in news. That time there were demands of including this thing as a continent. So apart from Zealandia, there are 7 continents in the world. So what are those 7 continents? One of the continent is North America, second is South America, third is Australia, fourth is, let's say, like, you know, Asia, fifth is Europe. Okay, fifth would be, let's say, like, you know, fifth would be Europe, sixth would be Africa. Okay, sixth would be Africa, and seventh would be Antarctica. So these are the continents. Eurasia is a common name. However, Europe is considered as a separate continent and Asia is considered to be a separate continent. Okay, this is the thing. So it is important that we should understand about the importance of Zealandia. So in this map showcases the continents that are officially recognized, continents that have, let's say, well recognition in the, like, in the world. So these are those continents. One is North America, second South America. Let's say if you go by this direction, okay, then we have Europe, we have Africa, we have Antarctica, we have Asia, and we have Australia and Oceania. Okay, so it's Australia generally. Okay, that's the thing. So these are 7 continents that are recognized, and the thing is, just to the right of this, like, you know, we do have another continent. So this is, let's say, like, you know, this is here we have Zealandia. So it is important that we should be knowing where is it located, what is the significance. Okay, so this map showcases the continents as we recognize today, right? So I have another map as well. So this map showcases New Zealand. Okay, New Zealand, because like New Zealand was in news. So the thing is, like, where is the capital of New Zealand? Capital of New Zealand is in Wellington. Okay, this is where Wellington located. So New Zealand is divided into 2 islands, 2 major islands. One of the island is known as North Island and other island is known as South Island. Okay, then in these islands there are many other features also. That's the thing. So it's part of, let's say, like, you know, Pacific Ocean. So it is there in the South Pacific Ocean. And one thing is important. We have heard about a virus, Pegasus virus. We know it has been in news. People claim that this, I mean, like, you know, malware or this virus has been developed by Israeli, let's say, like, you know, software engineers or Israeli authorities. So there is a bay also in this, you know, this, what we say, New Zealand. This is known as Pegasus Bay. Okay, this is known as Pegasus Bay. This name is, let's say, like a little bit relevant, so I thought of discussing. Then there is a strait. This is known as Cook Strait. Okay, what? Cook Strait, C-O-O-K, Cook Strait. Strait is a narrow channel of water that connects 2 water bodies and it separates 2 land masses. So this strait, Cook Strait, is separating the North Island from the South Island, and it is connecting the South Pacific Ocean with the Tasman Sea. Okay, this Cook Strait, that's the thing. So you can go through this mapping in your free time, and this also showcases, this map showcases where is Zealandia located. Okay, so this is, let's say, like, you know, little bit enlarged version of Zealandia. Okay, enlarged version of Zealandia, and this is what? New Zealand, as we know. All right, so you can go through it. Zealandia is an important topic. So with this, let us come to the first topic for discussion. This is an important topic. It says demolishing the frame from the outside the constitution. Okay, demolishing the frame from outside the constitution. Now let's say like learn about this topic. I'm going to write also some of the things related to this. Okay. Demolishing the frame from outside the constitution, from outside the constitution. Now in this article they have talked about the freedom of speech and expression. So the core topic, right? So the context of this topic, the main idea of the topic is freedom of speech and expression. So when we talk about freedom of speech and expression, so freedom of speech and expression is a constitutional right. What it is? It is a constitutional right. And not only it is a constitutional right, in the Constitution of India it has been given, let's say, some more prominence under fundamental rights. Okay, so it's a fundamental right. Okay, it is directly, we can see it is a fundamental right under the Constitution of India. So when we talk about freedom of speech and expression, it is mentioned in Article 19 of the Constitution of India, right? So Article 19 of the Constitution of India recognizes the freedom of speech and expression. So it protects the freedom of speech and expression of individuals in India. So we do have freedom of speech and expression through, let's say, verbal means or through written means as well. And when we talk about the press, when we talk about the media, right, as an organization, so press or media, they also exercise freedom and freedom of speech and expression, right? So when we talk about press or media, okay, we mean the same thing. So press or media, they also let's say like use freedom of speech and expression to disseminate information among citizens, right? And they sometimes disseminate information that may be critical to the government also. But recently what has happened, one particular online news portal which is known as NewsClick, right? So NewsClick has been targeted by the government agencies. They have been targeted by the government agencies, and the founder of the NewsClick, right? One of the person was the founder and chief editor, okay? Founder and chief editor of this news article, of this news website, and the HR manager. So both of them has been taken into custody, right? They have been taken into custody by the officials by applying some draconian law against them, which is known as UAPA. UAPA is a kind of draconian legislation that is there. So when we talk about UAPA, what is this? This is known as unlawful activities, okay, unlawful activities Prevention Act, okay, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. In short, it is known as UAPA. So this Unlawful Activities Prevention Act is applied, let's say like against those people who are considered to have done some activity which are terrorist in nature. This is generally applied against people who are considered as terrorists by the government agencies, okay, who are considered as terrorists. But the thing is like this NewsClick, which is a digital news portal, okay, if we talk about the NewsClick, this is a digital news portal. They even do not publish in printed format, okay, it's a digital news portal. So they might have published some content which is critical of the government. And recently, let's say Enforcement Directorate and Delhi Police, they have gone there, they have arrested, they have seized the smartphones of all the people who were found in the office, whether they are, let's say, like, low level people who are working, staff, right? So their digital devices has been taken, confiscated by the authorities, and then they have taken into custody these people. Now this raises a question about freedom of press in India. Okay, so it raises question about freedom of press, right? So it raises question of whether the press is free in India or not. Okay, freedom of press. Now related to freedom of press, recently like an index has been published which is known as freedom of press in the world press freedom index. Okay, there is an index which is known as world press freedom index. So this particular index actually ranks different countries according to the freedom of press, according to the freedom that the press enjoys in that particular country. So this index has ranked India at a very low level, means like, India, in India the freedom of press is very low. I mean, like, it is not totally that freedom of press is not there, it's not the case, and it's not the case that press is highly free. So it is, let's say, like, the press is highly restricted in India. And in this article, the author has talked about many things. The author said that not only that, like, it is a kind of blow to the freedom of press. The author said that, like, this particular incident of news click should not be seen in isolation. Okay, it should not be seen in isolation. So if we do not see it in isolation, if we see it in connection with many other things, so the author says that there is a tendency in India since this government came into power. So they have said that the present government, what they do, I mean, like, they have targeted the minorities. Okay, one thing is, like, they are trying to, the present government, they are trying to impose majoritarian, okay, they are trying to impose majoritarian rule, right, majoritarian rule on the people. Not only this, they are also targeting the press, right, they are targeting the press one after the other. Since they are targeting the press, so the freedom of press in India is going into a decline, and soon after these people have been arrested, right? So like many news agencies, they have come together, they have instantly written, right, an application to the Chief Justice of India, and the Chief Justice of India, I mean, like, he has decided to take this particular case. Now in this article, the author raises two questions. One of the question is related to constitutionalism. Okay, constitutionalism. So author talks about constitutionalism by giving some examples. One of the example is, number one example is related to electoral bonds. Okay, author has taken the example of electoral bonds. Now author says that this electoral bond gives opaque mechanism, opaque political funding mechanism. Okay, it gives opaque political funding mechanism to political parties. Okay, to political parties. So the thing is, since electoral bonds is a way in which political parties can get funding in an opaque manner, in a non-transparent manner, so the thing is, it undermines the democratic process. Okay, what it does, it undermines, okay, the author says that it undermines the democratic process. Okay, it undermines the democratic process in India. This is one thing. This is one example. Author says why it is an important thing to be considered, because this electoral bonds has something which can hamper the process of election in India. And if you talk about a democracy, democracy needs to have free and fair election. And if we have electoral bonds, there is less likely that the election will be free and fair, because like, you know, in election process, huge amount of expenditure is needed. A party that has more money, it is able to spend more money to divert the vote towards its favor. So author says that these electoral bonds undermines the democratic process of election, and it has impact. Okay, what it does, it impacts free and fair election in India. Okay, it impacts free and fair election in India. This is one of the examples that the author has talked about. Another example that the author has talked about, I'm going to write about that also, is that now the thing is, if we talk about the Constitution of India, right? In the Constitution, every citizen, right? If we talk about the citizens, every citizen is given equal right in India, right? Every citizen has equal right in India. But the thing is, like, if the political parties are applying majoritarian, okay, they are applying majoritarian rule in the country, so the minorities are pushed towards a kind of second class citizen. If minorities are pushed into second kind of citizen, so the thing is, it undermines the constitutionalism in India. Okay, it undermines constitutionalism in India. Why it undermines constitutionalism in India? The author has given example of a prominent, let's say scholar, right? Prominent scholar of 20th century, a scholar of 20th century. And what that scholar said, that these political parties, right, they get the, they get the authority to, let's say, contest an election, because they are also equal citizens. The political party people, they are equal citizens, they have the right. So they get the authority to, let's say, participate in electoral process, and every person who is giving the vote, they are exercising their right being equal citizens. But when they are making laws, when they are making rule after coming to the authority, so they are making rule keeping in mind only the majoritarian viewpoint. They are not considering the minority rights. They are not considering that, the rule that we are making, it should benefit all citizens of India, irrespective of their caste, creed, religion and all. It should not be, let's say, focused towards one certain community, and it should not be eliminating other communities. So they say that the rules that they are framing, it should treat all citizens equally. Only then we will be able to protect the idea of constitutionalism. Okay, so I will read what the author has said. For Richard Dawkins, another important legal and political scholar of 20th century, democracy is not just in the principle of majority decision making. Decisions should also be made under democratic conditions, whose structure, composition and practices treat all members of the community as individuals with equal respect and concern. So the author is saying that the Constitution's identity is endangered. Okay, the Constitution's identity is endangered not just by a textual transformation, but also in the subversion of its liberal democratic environment. Okay, so author has given many examples that, although in the text whatever is there in the Constitution, it may remain, but in practice, if government is selectively applying certain laws against certain section, so it is undermining the constitutional identity. The constitutional identity is endangered, and constitutionalism is endangered in the country. Okay, author has given many such examples. One of the example is of news click. Okay, means like in practice and in law there is a variation, and this variation is leading to endangerment of constitutional identity. This is what the author wants to say through this article. Okay, so this article has a perspective. It gives a perspective to us to understand about this, right? It gives a perspective. it has criticized the judiciary as well for its inaction. Right. Now we need to talk about another topic. This topic is also important. It says centralized procurement as a powerful health idea. Okay, centralized procurement as a powerful health idea. So we will understand about this topic quickly. Name of the topic is centralized procurement as a powerful idea. Okay, so through this article we will understand about centralized procurement. Now to explain this particular topic, the authors have given examples. Okay, authors have given examples. What examples? They have one thing, they have given the example of let's say Domino's pizza. Is Domino's given example? Let's say Domino's, or we can also take the example of McDonald's. Okay, so these are, let's say, like, these are food outlets. So these outlets operate on the, let's say, like, on the business model of franchisee. Okay, on the business model of giving franchisee. Is it the right spelling? Franchisee. So their business, their main business is located in the United States of America, Domino's or let's say McDonald's. So their business is located in USA, but in USA they do not have just one store. They have thousands of stores in United States of America. They have, let's say, lakhs of stores in India and across the world. Okay, so they have huge number of stores. Now since they have huge number of stores, what is their business model? I mean, like, they need to maintain two things. One thing is, like, they need to maintain the pricing related thing. There should be homogeneity in the pricing, and there should be homogeneity in the quality of the product that they are selling, right? So the thing is, like, related to pricing and quality of the product, if we talk about the McDonald's, in India, right? So if they have huge number of outlets in India, let's say in the state of Kerala, they have 10 outlets. In the state of UP, they have 50 outlets. In the state of Delhi, they have, let's say, 25 outlets. So they do have their outlets across India, but the thing is, the raw material that is needed is potato. Okay, they need a raw material which is potato, but the quality of potato in North India and in South India will vary. And in North India itself, in Delhi, it may vary. If, let's say, like, the outlets, they procure it from here, they procure it from there. So they will not be able to maintain quality or a standard or homogeneity in the products. So how, I mean, like, what should be the way that they should adopt to maintain quality in the product? So they say, like, they adopted what a thing which is known as centralized procurement. Okay, centralized procurement. So how centralized procurement benefited them? Centralized procurement, through centralized procurement, they were able to negotiate the price, because let's say the main chain, like, there may be a headquarter of McDonald's in India. That headquarter actually negotiates with those organizations who are going to supply potato, uniform quality of potato, and at a specific price. And after getting all those supplies, they can distribute it among their branches. Okay, so the thing is, like, this centralized procurement gives them many benefits. One thing, benefit in the quality, they are able to maintain quality of the product. Second thing is, they are able to get the timeliness, okay, delivery on a timely manner. Third thing is price negotiation. Okay, so price negotiation, so price also goes down. Okay, price also goes down. Yeah, it leads to economies of scale. Okay, so the thing is, So it is beneficial for the entire chain because the outlets who are franchisee, right? So these outlets are able to procure good quality products. They're able to procure good quality products in a timely manner. They're able to procure it at lesser prices. So the thing is, they are able to maintain homogeneity. Now, taking these as examples, the author has talked about that application of the same principle in procurement of medicine, okay? In procurement of medicine. Now, what happens in procurement of medicine? So generally, medicines are procured by different states, right? They are procured by different states, and every hospital procures medicine in a different way. But the author is talking about that the central government, okay, central government can think of mass procurement, okay? Central government can think of bulk procurement, okay? They can think of bulk procurement or centralized procurement. If they procure it, let's say like they need, for example, paracetamol. So central government can procure paracetamol directly from the manufacturing company by negotiating with the manufacturing companies and doing the negotiation in such a manner that they are getting the product at a lesser price and they are getting the quality product. As of now, what is happening? That central government is not procuring in a centralized manner. So that leads to price increase, okay? So if we do not follow bulk procurement, if we do not follow bulk procurement, so the thing is like, price increases, right? Homogeneity is not maintained in the product, right? And also, what happens when we talk about quality of the medicine? The quality of the medicine related thing is left for the regulator to look into. Like we do have, let's say like, Indian Medical Council, we do have other ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, right? So it is left, I mean like, quality aspect is left to this particular thing, what? Regulators. But the author says like, this has many lacuna, flaws. One thing is price of the goods increase, its availability is not ensured across the country, and then the price also increases. Price increases, availability is not ensured, and also there can be, let's say, in some hospitals it is available, some hospitals it is not available. So the authors are saying that the central government should think of bulk procurement. They should think of centralized procurement. If they are procuring in a centralized manner, if they are procuring, let's say, from same vendors, so in that case, they will be able to maintain homogeneity, they will be able to get the products at a lesser price, and it will ensure availability of the drugs across hospital chains in India. Then the author says, in India, we do have an organization, which is, let's say, a public sector undertaking. That public sector undertaking also manufactures drugs, and they are able to supply drugs directly to the government. So government, when they procure, so they release this particular thing, tender. So tender orders. So the bidder that offers the price in product at least price, they are given this particular thing. So the author says that although it is good that there is a presence of a public sector undertaking, but the thing is like this competition which is there, right? So they can, the government can get the best thing at cheap price if they have centralized mass procurement from those suppliers who are able to meet the demand of the government. Okay, so this is the thing. I mean, like it is, this particular thing is related to health, it is related to economy. It talks about, let's say, being economical while procuring health related products, okay, while procuring this particular thing. Okay, so through this article also we understand a perspective, and they have talked about a national cancer grid pooled, okay, talked about a report or paper which is a national cancer grid pooled procurement initiative in India. So they have procured the thing, they have procured drugs related to cancer in bulk, and they were able to save around 13.2 billion rupees. They were able to save between 23 to 99%, okay, in the bulk procurement. So same thing can be applied, okay, same thing can be applied in other drugs, okay. So this is the thing that has been said by the authors in this article. Now with this, we came to another topic, This topic was there in the editorial section. It says law and custom. Court verdict leaves square people with long struggle ahead of equality. Okay. So the thing is like in India, the thing same-sex marriage is not legalized as of now. It is not recognized. Okay, means like we do not have a separate legislation that gives legality to the same-sex marriage. So related to this, there were cases that were filed and the cases were heard by the Supreme Court of India. Recently, the Supreme Court of India has given a decision, a verdict, and this verdict was given by a constitutional bench. Okay, a constitutional bench. And this constitutional bench includes 5 judges of the Constitution. And in the 5 judges, 4 judges, okay, 4 judges have, let's say, like, taken a decision against it. 3 judges, okay. And 2 judges, out of those, one of them is Chief Justice of India. So 2 judges were in favor. But the thing is like the majority opinion was against giving legal status to the same-sex marriage. But in India, if we talk about the Special Marriage Act, does the Special Marriage Act allows people to marry? It does allow people to marry from a different perspective. Let's say if people are marrying interreligion, or let's say a person from India wants to marry a person of foreigner, so they can marry, okay, and intercaste marriages. So those kind of marriages are allowed over here. But the verdict of the Supreme Court of India said that the thing is like 2 persons, if they want to marry, one has to be biologically female, other has to be biologically male. Only then, let's say like, we can give a verdict in favor. They have also made a remark that like, the society is not ripe enough. I mean, like society has not yet got that particular acceptance in India for the same-sex marriage. But do we have other countries where same-sex marriage is legalized? Yes, same-sex marriage is legalized also in many other countries, not in India. So when people of same sex, if they stay together, right, if they stay together, there is a term that is used which is known as social union. What? It is known as social union. If people of same sex, they live together for sufficient long time, this is similar to live-in relationship. I mean, like, live-in relationship, generally a boy, a girl, they stay together, but like social union, when the same sex marriage stays together, and so like, they intend to get married with one another like that. So that is known as social union. So social union has also not been recognized by the, let's say like, by the judges in this particular judgment. Okay. So you can go through this article to understand a little more on this topic. So that's the thing. There were many articles on this, but like we need to understand the crux of it. One thing is, they said the society has not does not have much acceptability at this point of time. I mean, so they do not have a uniform view. 2 judges has means like given their viewpoint in favor, and the 3 rejected. So every judge has its own opinion on this. Okay, so like these opinions will come one after another every day. As of now, I mean, like I have also not gone into deep through these articles today, but like we will discuss about it maybe in future. Many articles are going to come on it. Okay. Now we have another topic. It says when tigers and jackals get the same protection. Okay. So this topic is related to environment and ecology. It is important for the prelims exam, and it is also important for the mains exam. This is a very important topic. However, I'll talk about what the authors have said. So basically, the authors have been talking about an act which is known as Wildlife Protection Act. Okay, Wildlife Protection Amendment Act 2022. Okay, Wildlife Protection Amendment Act 2022. So authors have criticized the provisions of this particular act. Means this entire article has critical viewpoint about this act, the Amendment Act, Wildlife Protection Amendment Act. Why they criticized? They have said that this, in the Wildlife Protection Amendment Act, the, let's say, like, they have listed different species under the same list. For example, in the headline itself, they have said tigers and jackals. They get the same protection. I mean, like, so in this act, under this act, they have mentioned list, and these lists talk about different animals, right? They talk about different animals, or like we would say species of animals, and they talk about the protection of these species. But the thing is, like, for making this particular list, they have not followed any scientific basis. I mean, like, many of the animals, for example, birds, right, maybe crocodiles, maybe tigers, they are listed in the same list, and like, they talk about the same kind of protection. So the thing is, like, although it clubs many different kind of animals under same protection measures, but they are not on scientific basis. So author says that, like, this particular thing, nowhere in the act there is a clear connection between endangerment and conservation. I mean, like, when we talk about protection, so there should be a link, like how much endangered an animal is and what protection should be given. So they say like that nowhere in the list that is mentioned under this, so nowhere they have a connection between endangerment and of conservation. So this is one criticism that the author has given related to this article. Apart from this, they have talked about, even if it were to have the benefits for conservation, species would have to be prioritized. So they have listed thousands of species, and they have not prioritized these species. Which species takes the, let's say, should be protected first, which species next. So there is no prioritization of species. There is just listing of the species. So that is another. So they say, I mean, like, every action has consequences, and in law often a perverse one. For example, the Tree Preservation Act of Kerala and Karnataka prescribe felling of native trees. So here they have talked about, let's say, if we have trees, so tree protection has been mentioned in such a manner that those people who want to go for plantation business, if they want to plant, if a person plants, so he will not be able to cut the trees. So the thing is, like, it also again talks about the issues related to conservation. I mean, like, if you can't cut the trees that you have planted, so you will not involve yourself into the plantation business. So it does have a kind of, let's say, toll on the conservation measure. Apart from this, the author has given many such viewpoints. Okay, the third issue that the author has said, that despite the support of many individuals in the forest bureaucracy, the paperwork involved in getting permits for research is tedious and time consuming. So the thing is, they have said that hunting, poaching, these things have been protected, but in the previous version of the Wildlife Protection Act, the research was given a leeway. I mean, like, people had to take lesser permissions to conduct research, but now it has been made more tedious. So the scientific community will feel it difficult to get research approvals for doing research related to this, related to animals. So the thing is, in this article, they finally say that in an inordinate number of species have been included in the new schedules of the Wildlife Protection Amendment Act with little consultation and no process or logic. They say they did little consultation, they did not follow any process, they did not follow any scientific logic as well. Okay, so they have criticized this Wildlife Protection Amendment Act. Why it is important? Because it is important for GS paper 3. We know what are the positive measures of conservation or protection, but when you have to criticize, when you have to critically analyze, you can use these points in your answer. That will be important. Okay, so this is a good article. You need to give a reading to this to understand, let's say, point by point. Then we have another topic. This topic is again important. It says how synergistic barriers are affecting progress on SDGs. So we'll quickly understand about this topic. How synergistic G how synergistic barriers are affecting progress on SDGs. Okay, so we need to understand about this. To understand about this article, we need to understand about SDGs. What are SDGs? So SDGs stands for Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, they stand for Sustainable Development Goals. So when we talk about Sustainable Development Goals, how many goals do we have? We have 17 goals. And we have 169, right, targets as part of it. So these goals, the Sustainable Development Goals, have been adopted by all the countries that are member of United Nations organization. Okay, all UN members. It has been adopted by all United Nations members. That's the thing. So these goals have to be, let's say, achieved between the time period 2015 to 2030. So between during this 30 years time period, we wanted to achieve these 17 goals and 169 targets. However, recently there was a summit, right? There was a summit which this is known as United Nations Sustainable Development Goals Summit. It is, let's say, summit. This Sustainable Goals Summit has happened in New York. United Nations SDG Summit has recently happened, and in that summit it has been noticed that the world will be able to achieve only 15% of the goals. Okay, 15% of the targets that are set, okay, of the SDG targets. Okay, 15% of the SDG targets means the world is not in line to achieve 85% of the targets. Means we are drastically lacking behind achieving these targets that are set by these countries that we wanted to achieve from 2015 to 2030. So it gives a kind of grim picture. I mean, why we made such targets? Either we have taken it for granted, or we should not have made very high targets. So according to the author, the targets that were set, this is required by the world. I mean, this is the need of the hour, that we need these targets to be achieved. But even after making those targets, we did not take proper steps. None of the countries is going to achieve all the targets by the time that has been set. Okay, especially the targets related to hunger and poverty. Especially the targets related to hunger and poverty, these are not going to be achieved, right, by 2030. So now what caused these failures? Okay, so in this article they say that there are synergistic barriers. What? There are synergistic barriers. So what are synergistic barriers? Synergistic barriers are those barriers, let's say there is a country A. This country A wants to achieve a target, let's say target 1, any target 1. But to implement this target, they do have, let's say, policy document in place. Okay, policy document is in place. And policy documents are framed by all the countries put together. I mean, they consult with one another. They see which is the best possible thing that can be included. So the policy document that is there, this is, let's say, this is something which is well consulted. This is made well. But when it comes to implementation, okay, when it comes to implementation, So the thing is like every country, okay, every country has some kind of difficulties for it. These difficulties have been termed as synergistic barriers. Now we need to understand this thing, that even if that country wants to achieve this thing, only a country will be able to achieve. Means like, only out of 17 goals, a country may be achieving 2 or 3 goals, may not be achieving majority of the goals. Let's say like, 14, 15 goals, our country is not achieving. Other countries achieving 2 or 3 other goals. So that way, I mean like, every single country cannot achieve all the targets, and not all the targets are set for all the countries. Means, let's say like, there are some countries, over here, let's say we may be having a target of, let's say, using solar panels or reducing the greenhouse gas emission. What about those countries that do not receive sunlight much? They will not be able to use solar panels and all. So are we understanding? That's the thing. I mean like, not all the targets are meant for all the countries. Not all the countries will be able to achieve this thing. So there are barriers, many different types of barriers. These barriers have been termed as synergistic barriers in this article. Okay. So this is the thing. I mean like, so we need to understand that this sustainable development goal is going to be a failure for the entire world. So far, I mean like, every country was talking about we are going to achieve this thing, we are going to achieve this thing. But now, in 2023, only few years left, only 8 years left, we are already half the way, right? Now we are going to achieve only 15% of the target. Now we have another topic. This topic is related to science and technology. It says, strengthened human rated rocket is ready for Gaganyaan. Okay, strengthened human rated rocket is ready for Gaganyaan. So, नहीं वो वाला पैड अबाउट टेस्ट जो है ना, they're going to do on 21st of October. ठीक है, मतलब that was a separate thing. So here ISRO chairman says hundreds of tests are planned as India prepares to send astronauts into space in 2025. They want to send astronauts in 2025. I think like, I have read very recently that they are going to launch the Gaganyaan mission this year itself. Many times it was in article, newspaper article. Yeah, they have postponed. Maybe because of many hurdles, they need to do a lot of testing, development and all. He says it sought a lot of technology from Russia, Europe and US, but many did not come. So the space agency will have to develop systems such as environmental control, life support system internally. He says the number of astronauts to be sent to orbit in the first attempt is not fixed. Okay, number of people who are going to be sent, earlier it was planned that they are going to send 3 people, but now that is also not fixed. So the thing is like, they have just postponed the Gaganyaan mission. What is Gaganyaan mission? It is a human space flight mission of Indian Space Research Organization. Okay, so although they have, let's say, postponed it, we are not going to discuss about this Gaganyaan mission in detail as of now, because we have already had a discussion on this topic many times. Right, so it is, we are going to send human beings, let's say, on this module. It is known as crew module of the system. And today I was reading a book. This is like, Ignited Minds by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So in the first chapter itself, in the book, it has been mentioned that when APJ Abdul Kalam was part of the Indian Space Research Organization, he has served from 1960s to 83. I mean like, more than 20 years he has served in ISRO. So during his time, India has, let's say, made the first space launch vehicle. So its name was Rohini. Okay, so like, so a small satellite launch vehicle. So they have made during his time. So it was a good information. I mean like, from there also. So it's related to ISRO. That's the thing. Yeah. And just below this article in the Hindu newspaper, there was another article where Prime Minister was sitting, and the Prime Minister of India has said ISRO, he has directed ISRO to go for, let's say like, other kind to launch human being or to send human being on moon by 2040. So he has given a deadline or time, okay, or goal to the ISRO. So that was the thing, but like, ISRO has postponed this particular mission. Now we have another topic. It is this cannot legalize same-sex marriage, says Supreme Court bench. A majority opinion of the 5-judge constitutional bench says only the legislature can recognize such marriage and courts cannot intervene. It adds there is no fundamental right to marry. Okay, so they have said that only legislature can make laws, not the court, and we do not have any fundamental right to marry. There is fundamental right to life, right to speech and expression, but there is no fundamental right to marry. That's the thing. That is fundamental right. But Supreme Court itself can reinterpret its own decision, own judgments. Okay, means like, they can. So this is there. This is also a right of the Supreme Court of India. I mean, like, they can review their own thing. So we are not going into detail about it. This is another article. It says a case for marriage equality, the legal arguments for same-sex marriage. In this article, they have talked about what are the legal arguments in support of same-sex marriage. They say that, like, marriage documents are needed in many cases, right? For availing government services, for getting the house property registered. If marriage, I mean, like, it is not legalized, so like those people are devoid or denied their basic right. Okay, so they have talked about many such things. Okay, so this article you can go through in detail, right, in your free time. So through this article they talk about that, like, why same-sex marriage should be legalized. Okay, they talk about a pro version, I mean, like, towards same-sex marriage thing. So this is actually, like, few days back, maybe around 15 days back, I was going through a kind of Supreme Court hearing, like on YouTube it comes na. So there was a person, there was a counsel who was, let's say, making argument in front of the Supreme Court of India, and he has talked about all these things one by one. I mean, like, what is LGBTQI? Okay, Q is square, I is like, I also forgot this thing, but like it was there. If you search about it now, so there was a counsel, like he is talking about all of it. Okay, so like that. What is transgender, then queer, and then IA+? Maybe, like, we need to see that judgment. I mean, like, as of now, I have also not given much attention to it. Maybe, like, we may read in future. There will be many articles, because like yesterday the Supreme Court has given a verdict. Now it came in the newspaper. So that's the thing. So that's all from my side for the day. Thank you so much everyone for joining today's session. I hope you have a good day ahead. And good evening, Vijay Lal. Thank you so much.